Well, welcome to this video, and I hope you like it. If you do, click the like button, hit subscribe, and share with a friend. Okay, I figured today I'd talk a little bit about collecting pine cones and growing pine trees from seeds. I think I got a previous video up there that's more general. Also, I'd like to point out I finally got a Teespring store, and my beard's probably hiding it, but got t-shirts and some other such stuff there. But at any rate, you know, August, September, at least in this area, the Northeast here, is usually the time that you want to be collecting seeds for conifers. And I've got pine trees for an example here, but it also works for most other cone-bearing trees. I've done the same stuff with spruces, hemlocks, and even the like the white cedar, your thuja, your arborvitaes. A good thing to have is a book like this. This is a good reference, not perfect because there's so much variability with seeds. I've gone into that before, but this will give you an idea of what color the pine cone should be. And because you want to collect them when they are ripe, but you don't want to collect them after they are open. You want to get the cone before it opens up. All the examples I've got here are already starting to open up. I had this one here I just got recently, but it was warm in my car and it started opening up in my car. This is off of a pitch pine. I don't remember. I think this was a Table Mountain pine. Yeah, he's got pretty big prickles on him. And this guy, I'm not sure. I can't see through the thing. I think he's a red pine. But at any rate, a good thing, these cones are usually, because they're so attached to the tree, you're going to need some sort of clipper. Sometimes you can kind of twist them off without damaging the tree, but in general it's better to cut them off. A small set of clippers will work, a pocket knife will work. It varies a little bit. Some of them are on there pretty strong. A set of little wire cutters will work. Because a lot of your pines, especially, they're really attached, and they're you know, it takes a little bit to cut them off. They don't just pick off like picking an apple. You know, things like hemlocks and most of your spruces, they've got smaller cones. They're not attached as hard. Like you can see there's a little bit of wood still attached to this guy. I cut him off with a knife, but a little piece still tore out there. But yeah, I mean, it's almost like you got to cut through a little branch to get these guys off. Because in general, with a lot of the pine trees, not all of them, but most of them, the cones are what they call persistent. It means that the cones will stay on the tree for years. Some of them take 2 years to ripen even, and when they get ripe, they'll eventually open up and disperse their seeds. Some species, especially out west, they'll hold those cones closed until fire or you know, heat makes them open up the cones, so they might be on the tree for years without even opening up. In general, you want to get them as soon as they're ripe, before they open, and put them in a jar. It can be a plastic jar even, and I usually sit them in a sunny window, let them heat up a little bit, and that makes them open up. And when they open up, and this guy's already been collected, you can shake it a little bit. I don't think there's anything left in him. This guy hasn't been shaken at all yet, so we'll see what comes out of him. But don't know if you see, I got a couple seeds out of there. And you can do this over and over again, because you know, he's still got some parts of him. The one side's not all that open yet. And sometimes cones don't have a lot of seeds in them, or sometimes the seeds are duds. Sometimes, you know, there's a lot of variability in nature, but usually you'll get a decent amount of seeds out of a single pine cone to start you a little forest. Is that obviously like a hemlock has a smaller cone, has less seeds in it. Some of the smaller cones, especially like hemlocks and like the northern white cedar, your thuja grouping of things called cedars that have these little cones. Also like tamarack trees. They've got small enough cones that it's actually doable to sit there and just, you know, pull off the scales one at a time. They're thinner, more flexible scales usually. You can do that with a white pine too, but white pine cones almost always seem to be covered with sap, or pitch as they call it. So it's like it's all sticky with glue. You'll get sticky. It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, get them when they're still closed, but most of them do change color when they ripen. Some of them will turn orange or yellow or purple. You know, look up what the color is, get them before they open. You can't always tell later in the season. Like, you got to catch them that first season when they just ripen. After that, even the ones that do change color, a lot of times they just go to this sort of, I don't know, woody bark brown color or whatever. But just with heating and cooling, they will open and close. Heat tends to make them open up, and coolness and humidity tends to make them close. So some of them on the tree, they'll actually cycle. So if you don't catch them before they start cycling, a lot of times you'll get a pine cone, even if it looks like it's all closed up. You'll get it home, you'll put it in a thing like this, it'll open up, nothing's in it because it's been on the tree for 2 years and it dispersed all its seeds a long time ago. So, giving you pointers from my mistakes. I've been doing this for many, many years. Pines, the pine family themselves, normally don't need any sort of pre-treatment. So my suggestion would be put them into a little Ziploc bag, mark down what they are. Don't be like me, throw them in a jar, think you're gonna remember, and have a stare at the pine cone later trying to figure out what the hell tree it went to. And it's even harder for the seeds because the seeds look alike. I mean, a red pine looks like a Scotch pine, looks like a pitch pine, looks like a white pine, and hell, even looks like a spruce to a large extent. The seeds are very similar. They almost look like miniature, like maple seeds. They've got that same little seed with a wing on it look to them. The seeds will often separate from the wings, especially if you're bouncing them around in here for a while. A lot of times the seeds will separate from their little wing, and you can get the little seeds by themselves and not worry about all that chaff. That's another advantage to shaking them around like that. But yeah, a little bit of moisture and a little bit of sunlight and these guys will go off, which is normally a problem. I would suggest putting them in a bag, marking it, put it in the fridge, plant it in spring, because I've made that mistake before, because usually I like planting my seeds in the fall and then overwintering them outside, and I've had these things sprout before winter hit, and then you've got a seedling that's too small to survive the winter without protection, and they don't do well as house plants. You know, it's very dry in your house. They tend towards drying out, but on the other hand, if you water them too much, they damp off. I've done that many, many times where these things have sprouted on me before winter. They were just little spindly things, and they weren't going to survive outside, so I tried overwintering them, and, you know, I can usually keep them going for a while, but there's always, you know, you get busy, you forget about them, and they dry out, and they're done. You know, and all it takes is to forget about checking on them 1 or 2 days in a row, and that's it, dust. So that's why my suggestion is don't do my normal method of plant them in the little, like I use deli cups, like a quart deli cup. I'll fill it halfway with dirt, sprinkle a few seeds in there, put the lid on, makes a nice little terrarium for sprout and stuff. That does work for most of your other things, because the spruce, the tamarack, and the hemlock normally require that overwintering period to sprout. So they need to be cold for 2 or 3 months before they'll sprout. If you put them in and it's warm, they won't sprout. The pines usually will. I mean, I guess technically if I sprouted a pine tree in August, it might get big enough to overwinter, but you know, usually I end up with them like sprouting on me in October, November, and it's just, yeah, they're not going to get big enough to harden off in time. Trying to think, there's not much else to talk about. Like I said, this one is specifically about the pine trees, and figured I'd put out those little pointers on that. So good luck hunting pine cones, and hopefully you can grow a few and plant them out in your backyard or wherever, and I'll see you on the next one. Well, I hope you found that video informative. Hopefully it made you think, and please click the like button and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and check out the video that should be appearing somewhere around me here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.